Hello and welcome to CX Today. My name is Charlie. I am the senior editor here, and I'm thrilled to be joined by Ashley Griggs, head of sales and strategic partnerships at ElevateAI by NICE. Ashley, thanks very much for joining me. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Thanks, Charlie.
Absolutely. Well, it's great to have you join me. And I'm really excited to take a look today at some demos of some of the generative AI powered technologies that Elevate AI provides for contact centers. But before we go into that, I think probably the best place to start is by asking you to give us a quick intro into Elevate AI itself.
Yeah, absolutely. So Elevate AI, really the genesis for it was probably about 2.5 years ago. And the decision was made to make some of NICE's core context-specific technologies available to the masses. And in a way never done before. It was really a totally different way of thinking, different way of marketing, different way of offering. And so we're doing it via a cloud API. And it's totally platform agnostic. Don't care, what the recording environment is or anything else. No upfront cost. So it's not like you're investing in a platform and need to deploy, a huge, significant deployment. And it's an easy to integrate API. Literally, it's a handful of calls. You'll see some of that in the demos that we do, how easy it is. And you pay only for what you need. So, truly very different than, the typical enterprise type software solution. But yet we're able to offer, these core technologies, that otherwise you see, in the Enlighten product and in interaction analytics and some of these others that are really core to NICE. It's really the first technology that was available, and kind of the core to the rest is transcription. It's kind of the key, right? So when you start with a recorded call, transcription has to occur before you can do any additional analysis on it. So that was really the first component that was required. We've added on top of that, the Enlighten AI models, which we can get into a little bit more later, as well as a bunch of generative AI capabilities, which are really exciting, and we can talk to. And the idea here is to truly democratize AI, for really any contact center. So, I mean, even those that have 25 agents, 50 agents, where these things would have never been possible before, of course, this makes it so today.
Yeah, and I think that accessibility is really kind of the key differentiator. I know you mentioned others such as price too in there, but there are so many generative AI solutions on the market for contact centers now. Could you maybe talk a little bit to the true value to Elevate AI kind of compared to what else is in the market?
Absolutely. So the interesting thing about the value of Elevate AI is it really depends upon the particular customer's needs. We have such a breadth and depth of various capabilities and features that it can almost be overwhelming to them if they look at them, in their totality. So a lot of what I need to do is work with them to understand where should they focus to get those quick wins, right? What is the most value to them? And with some of those that we're talking to, just transcription alone, is a big jump from where they were. And that's great. That's a quick, easy win for them. For others, maybe it's the sentiment score, so they can be tracking that and take action based on it. We'll get into, auto summary, huge one today, right? And very easy to get out of the product. And again, huge value, right? And I generally recommend to do it in phases, right? Figure out that core value initially, get that, realize that value, and then grow it from there, because we have a lot of other capabilities beyond the ones I've just mentioned. But like I said, it can actually almost create a pause in people that are looking to integrate it because they get almost overwhelmed.
Yeah. And I think lots of really great points there. And I think now's probably a great chance to kind of see Elevate AI in action. So let's kind of take a look at our first demo of how the API works.
So on the left-hand side of your screen, I have a tool called Postman, commonly used for working with REST APIs and testing them. And on the right-hand side, of course, I have our web UI. So the first step of any process within Elevate AI is to declare your recordings. So I'm going to go ahead and do a declare. In this case, I've actually got the download URI included as part of the declare. So once I run this, it will actually start the processing as well. You'll see it's a very simple structure here. It is a post REST API call to this particular URL. And also within the header, I have my assigned API token in there as well, which every account has their own token. I'm just going to click send. And what it's going to return is my interaction identifier. This will be the key identifier that I use with any other call within the system to get the status, to get the transcript, to get other things, etc. You'll also notice on the right-hand side, up pop this file. So it's already completed and processed. In our next set of videos, we'll walk through getting some of the additional information back about this one. Thank you.
So that was how you declare a recording within ElevateAI, the API. And now Ashley shows us how to pull back the results using the API for any particular interaction that was processed within the system.
So on the right-hand side in our UI, I'm going to go ahead and click on this particular recording. And then I'm going to come over here on the API side. First, we're going to check the status of this. Very simple status call. It uses the key interaction identifier we've got defined. I click send, and it's going to tell me this item was processed. So once that's the case, I know that I can go ahead and get back the transcript results. So I'm going to come over to that one. It's a simple get API call. Again, using the interaction identifier is really the key part of this. Go ahead and click send, and instantly back, I'm going to go ahead and get the broken apart transcript by each participant, each spoken sentence, exactly as you see it on the right within the web UI. You can do this using the API. So all of these results, quick and easy to pull them back, build and put into whatever environment you'd like. Thank you.
And there was ElevateAI, and it really is that simple to set up. But Matt, maybe now let's talk about a bit about some of the use cases that contact centers can deploy through Elevate AI. And I think auto-summarization is probably the most well-utilized use case of generative AI within contact centers kind of ubiquitously. But it's a really good starter use case, I think, for this technology. So Ashley, maybe you could tell us a little bit about how this one works.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, kind of like I mentioned the quick win, and you just mentioned kind of the starter use case. It absolutely is, right? Mm-hmm. It's also one of the reasons it is so is because it's very easy to recognize the value, right? You look at the time your agents are taking to write summaries, you know, you recognize what that is per interaction, and there's an equation. You can quickly see what it's costing you to do so, right? And generative AI brings a great capability in, which we've enabled through ElevateAI to get you a contact center CX specific summary of each interaction very quickly and easily. You know, and the great thing about it too is this is a paragraph of text that comes back, right? It's not difficult to consume. It's not 100 different AI scores from different models, and we do have some of that too. But this is, you know, an easy one. So if someone wants to do this, you know, literally they declare a call like we saw. You know, when it completes, it's one quick call and you get back this auto summary, you know, which is a great summarization of the interaction, you know, put into a few sentences typically. You know, a lot depends on the interaction itself. And then you can put that wherever you want, you know, whether it's just back into the CCAS system, whether it's into, you know, whatever your system of record is, basically, you know, the next time that customer calls, if it's a CRM or what have you, it's going to pop up and it's going to have that summary there. You know, really the great thing about what we do is, in all honesty, it's not up to us what you do with it. You know, once you get it back from the system, you can do anything you want with it. So again, it's that ease of integration, no requirements from our side as far as what systems you're working with, what you're putting it into, et cetera. And it really is that quick win. The other thing, you know, as we talk about some of these features, the thing to recognize with ElevateAI is when we process an interaction, all of these things are available to you, you know, at one flat rate. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of that, but you know, it's not like it's a nickel and diming. It's not like a menu and you're going to pay for everything. Once you process something, all of these capabilities are available to you. So again, making it that much more consumable and commercially, you know, viable for a lot of the audience that we've talked about, you know, and I'll touch on a little bit later too, but we'll even give quite a bit away for free when it comes to that to truly democratize this.
Excellent. Sounds great, as I said, and yeah, I think another reason why I think this is such a great use case too is that it really does kind of enable the omni-channel contact center, because you can get the summary on one channel that automatically feeds into a CRM, which an agent can pick up through on another channel, and that's through ElevateAI. That's incredibly easy to kind of to tag that onto a CRM system.
And that actually
Yeah.
brings up another point too, if I can hit you with it. So so far I've been talking about recorded calls and us transcribing them and then doing this. We can do the same for chats. Chats can be processed by our system, as well as if you already have existing transcripts or text of other interactions, those can be processed by the system as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, it's a really great use case. And let's take a look about just how easy it is to set up that functionality within Elevate AI.
So coming over to our left-hand side, I'm going to go ahead and get to the get API call, which is basically this endpoint right here. Of course, we've got our interaction identifier that uniquely identifies the particular interaction that we want to retrieve. A couple of header items. I'm going to go ahead and click send. That goes out and instantly pulls back the summary, which you'll see matches the summary over on the right-hand side. It's that quick and easy to make a single API call that can give you back an auto summary for every one of your interactions.
Okay, so that was auto-summarization, one of just many generative AI use cases across the Elevate AI API. And maybe now it's a great opportunity to talk about some of the other use cases that are available. So I don't know, Ashley, if you can tell us a little bit about those other use cases available within the system.
Yep, absolutely. So, as you can imagine, generative AI has been a huge push, and that's where there's been a lot of growth within the platform. And, one of our, strong tenets is constant innovation, right? And so I'll talk about what we have. These are constantly being added to with more and more capabilities. We kind of break it into two categories when it comes to our generative AI. One is in the auto summarization category. So we talked specifically about the summary itself. And then the other one is all around agent improvement, or coaching, if you will. So within that first category, of course, we've got just the paragraph like summary, but we also have additional information, like topics, intents, actions, so that all of these pieces of information can be gleaned from each interaction. And that can then give you information about, why are people calling? Where's the shortcoming in whatever we're offering? If this is a constant reason for calling, where is there an opportunity for automation, right? To handle a lot of these inquiries. And so this data has a lot of value to it when you start to pull it together. The other one of the other key offerings within that category is the Ask Elevate AI that we'll talk about, a little bit more in a minute. So moving into the coaching side, we've got a couple of different elements. One of them is really a straightforward, coaching. You can ask the system, what should the agent have done to improve their interaction? And it will literally tell you what to do. So that can be great, both from a supervisor level, but even an agent, self-coaching. To go in there and improve themselves, they can easily do that with this. So there's a lot of different capabilities. Those are some of the key ones. And the way you use them is just really limited by your imagination, right? You can go out there, figure out different ways to use this. And one of the most flexible ones we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, again, lots of really great examples. And I think particularly the one that really kind of gets me excited is the intent data use case, because I mean that's everything for a contact center to know why its customers are calling, so it can strategize against that in terms of automation, in terms of coaching, and so forth. So it's a really great use case, as well as kind of in tandem with the auto summarization use case, because again that helps the omni-channel journey. So really. So that one's really catches my eye, but lots of other really great stuff within the API. And you did mention the Ask Elevate feature, and I do want to touch on that a little bit. So what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's an exciting one. And it's really a lot of fun. So, of course, as NICE, we know a little bit about why people are, dealing with these things in contact centers and what contact centers need to glean from their information, but we can't come up with every possible, need that a customer might have. So we've made it possible through our API for customers to ask their own questions of their data using generative AI. So, maybe it's a seasonal, element that they need to monitor and manage, or maybe they've got some regulatory requirements, that they need to work towards, or their own KPIs. any of that's possible. They can simply enter in their own question and get back the answer about each interaction. And we provide that for up to 5 different questions and answers for every interaction. And it's really a fun one actually to go out there and play with. And I'll tell you a little bit how they can do that, as we wrap up and talk about how to get, try things out. And that's always, in my mind, one of the best ways to see the values in these is to go try it. But this one, especially because it is truly interactive, and you get to make it just specific to what you particularly need to glean from that data set.
Yeah, again, it's another feature that I really love, and I can really see the value in that, and just scraping learnings where before you'd have to do all sort of complicated analytics activities. So yeah, another really great feature. And let's take a look at Ask Elevate in action.
So I'm going to come over on my left-hand side, and I'm going to go ahead and ask a question of this particular interaction. And I'm also going to come over here on the right-hand side where you can see it. This is where one's already occurred. But I'm going to go ahead and ask this next question, asking what are the names of the agent and customer on this particular interaction. So I'm going to go ahead. It is a post instead of a get in this particular case. This is, of course, the endpoint that we will be going towards. And I'm going to go ahead and click send. It's now asking this question and returning the answer. So the answer is the agent is Virginia Thompson and the customer is Stephanie Andrews. So there it's returned this. Now if I come over on my right-hand side, just so you can see this, I update it, and now it shows that question and answer pair as well. The system stores these, and will store up to, like I said, 5 successful ones. And you can retrieve all of these as well as just the one that you just asked. A great capability and allowing ultimate flexibility within the ElevateAI system.
Now that was Ask Elevate. And now a kind of final key point that Ashley you mentioned earlier is to note that NICE's Enlighten AI models are what kind of powers the ElevateAI offering. So I think kind of as a final good point to focus on, Ashley, I don't know if you could kind of tell us a little bit about the role that they play within ElevateAI and the significance of that role too.
Yeah, absolutely. Enlighten AI, it is a core offering of NICE. It's something that they've spent quite a bit to develop. And NICE has the largest labeled interaction data set in the world, basically, to use in developing their AI, which is what makes it so that we can create these models that we can apply relatively universally, right? Because we have such a large data set to create them with. And what the Enlighten AI models do is analyze basically the behavioral analytics that are going on, the soft skills, right? The empathy, the active listening, and we can score on all of these elements within each interaction. So it can be very helpful to the organization and supervisors in identifying, strengths and weaknesses of various agents across the board, and who might need coaching in which element. It can also help them get a very strong understanding of, overall customer satisfaction, quality, and we do have these. The models are in grouping. So there is a large customer satisfaction grouping that's got about 10 or 12 different behavioral elements that it analyzes. Another one is sales effectiveness. Again, about 10 or 12 different things that are analyzed. And sentiment is one of the huge ones that comes from, customer satisfaction, and that people use for all different elements. Truly aligns with the NPS. And again, overall satisfaction and quality. Churn, concerns, identifying complaints. There's a lot of these models that are out there that basically present back scores, right? It scores all of these elements, and we do create an index for them, so you have a feel for, which is neutral, which is positive, which is negative. The one challenge with it is it creates a lot of data, and data can be great if you have a way to analyze it and work with it. So while these can be extremely valuable, I'll often suggest, like we talked about earlier, right, for the low-hanging fruit, the quick wins, pick 1 or 2 if these are the areas that you want to focus in. Don't look at all the scores. Don't try and analyze them all, unless you're integrating into something with a BI tool, and you've got expertise in doing those kind of analytics, in which case, great, pull them all in. The other key thing about this is that we've created an interface called Explore Elevate AI Explore, that is actually a widget-based dashboard reporting tool so that any user of our system can actually do some of that analytics against these scores without having to develop their own solution. So it's one of the areas that we actually veered away from being just the API, because it was so much of an effort and daunting to a lot of people to get a feel for this, and being able to go into Explore and see the results helps them picture how they can use it, right? Where they can get the values from. And for some, that's enough. They just want to use that interface, and that's great. So there's a lot there, but with the right strategy, it can bring a lot of value.
And it's also a really good point from within that too, is kind of how you're innovating using your customer feedback to make the experience for them and using this API even easier. And we've seen today just how easy it is to use Elevate AI. But kind of a final question from me is that we've seen how you can get set up on Elevate AI, but what's the process of bringing it into your contact center, those first kind of initial couple of steps?
Yep, perfect. So what I suggest to everybody is go out to elevateai.com and create a free account. One of the things that we've offered, we've talked about democratizing AI for all, right? We actually, every account that just someone goes and opens can process up to 1,000 calls a day for no charge. They're free. And it's funny, a lot of people are leery of free. They feel like, I'm not getting something or it's not right. That's 100% of our functionality. We don't trim anything down because it's free. So what you see is what you get. And even for the larger contact center that would grow well beyond the 1,000 a day, it's the same capabilities. And like I mentioned, we don't break things down, right? When we enable you to do something, you can do any of our capabilities. So if you process an interaction, you can get the transcript back. You can get the CXAI scores, the Enlighten AI scores back. You can get any of the generative AI endpoints you can call. So all of that is available. So that's always the first step, I say, is go out there and do that. Everything you see through that UI uses our API. So it truly is designed to show you the art of the possible, right? If you go to integrate with the API, these are all the things you can do. And it makes it so you can see them and glean that information without having to invest in some integration and stuff first, right? So that's really the genesis behind having that UI, but we make it extremely easy. It's drag and drop interactions into it. Pop up a list, show their status, and then immediately you can pull up a player and see that. So to me, that's always step one. Also out on our website is information for partners. We've got a lot in the integration side as well as the BPOs, in addition to, of course, the actual contact centers themselves. So there's information out there for all of them. The next step, generally, from there, the API is fully documented. So if someone wants to just go about integrating, they can do that. You can upgrade your account if you want to be like a pay-as-you-go type account. Of course, there's also a contact form, on our site. And that's often what I suggest. Once someone has decided, wow, this is cool technology, I want to do this, I would generally say, reach out to us. Well, let's talk about the best way to take it forward. We mentioned there's a lot of different use cases, a lot of capabilities. Our goal is to help them be as successful as possible, as quickly as possible, right? And do it in that kind of phased approach. So that's generally, how I suggest, people go about it. I will tell you, we have partners, BPOs that are using the system live that we've never spoken to. They've literally gone out there, found the website, found our documentation, the API is fully documented, have gone out there, integrated to it, and are using it. And we didn't know it until we were running some of our reports just to see usage. And that really embodies what we're trying to accomplish here. Not to say we don't want to talk to people, and that we don't want to help out and do, we absolutely do. But it's that just kind of proves that we've accomplished what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a really great note to end this discussion on. But it's been really fascinating to learn about kind of Gen AI use cases, but also everything Elevate AI. So thank you very much for joining me today, Ashley.
And my pleasure, Charlie. Thank you.
Absolutely. And also thanks to everybody for watching. Bye for now.